Hey guys, Zaptrocity here, and today, welcome back to the Minecraft Redstone guide. Oh yeah, so a lot of people have requested a tutorial on command blocks, and that is what we're going to do today. Today we're not going to really go over commands, those are pretty much the basic things, but I want to go into some of the other things about command blocks. Basically, I'm going to teach you guys how to do more specific things with command blocks instead of teaching you guys the commands, which is pretty self-explanatory. So, this is a command block, pretty easy. You can get it only in creative, and you can only use it in creative. You can only change the command inside it in creative mode. So, we can put in a command, and we can power it, and it will activate the command, execute it. So these command blocks act like a solid block, meaning power can actually go through these blocks. That's pretty awesome. That means you can power up to 4 command blocks, well 4, 5, 6 I suppose, command blocks all at once. Another awesome thing is that command blocks also output a little signal, so let me just reset that, and if we power it, there we are, we get a little signal. If a command is successful, it will output a signal, so that's pretty awesome. Over here I have a minecart command block, and these are pretty awesome. You can get these as well. And basically, to activate a minecart command block, you insert your command and you put it on an activator rail and turn that on. And as you can see, it actually spams our chat with that command, and it activates over and over again. So that's a nifty thing about command block minecarts. So this is what a command block is all about. We have to look at the command first of all. So we have about 5 parts, I'd say, to a command. This is how I think of a command. Some people might think of it a little differently. So first off, we have the command, which is basically the /time /help /xp /set block. That's the command part. Then we have the selector. Sometimes there is no selector, but usually there is. This is the @p for the nearest player, @r for random player, and @a for all players. And there's also a new one, @e for entities in the latest 1.8 snapshot. We also have arguments and optional arguments, which are little things afterwards, after the command, that make it what it is. So that's what we're going to be looking in today. Today we are not going to be looking into the scoreboard and tell raw command, because they have some other things that I'd like to go into in another video. Also, I don't want to look into data tags today as well. Right, let's look quickly into commands. So if you would like to know what commands there are, you can type in /help, and it will show you pretty much every single command that you can do. You can see right there, and I just type in another number after that to show the next page, and it's pretty self-explanatory how they work. In the little triangle brackets, if you want to call them that, this is the needed stuff, and the ones in the square brackets is the optional stuff. So, for example, if we look at the set block command, we can see right here we've got the X, Y, and Z, which is needed. We need the tile name, and the data value is optional, along with the old block handling and data tags. So you don't need to enter that stuff, but you can enter that stuff to be a little more specific about, your thing about the command. So that's pretty awesome. We aren't going to really look into the optional stuff today, or how the commands work, but I can give you an example of how some of them do work. We can go to the last page, and that's /xp. So we can just have a look at that. So /xp, and we can do or /xp and mount levels. I like this one better. So maybe /xp 10 levels, and then player, and I just enter my username, Zaptrocity, and there we are. So if we go to survival mode, we should be able to see we have those 10 levels at the bottom. So that's how that works. Every command has a different use and all of that. You can look at these and also mess around with them yourself. Along with that, the wiki also has everything you need to know about commands, so if you would like to know more about a certain command, you can go there. But let's move on. So, another neat character you need to know when messing around with commands is the tilde, which can be found right next to your 1 on your keyboard, if you have it, it's like a little squiggly line. Hopefully I can put it in the description too, because if you somehow don't have it, you can just copy and paste it. So this is used for when using relative teleportation, relative coordinates. So whenever you see this X, Y, and Z, you can use this tilde symbol, character, whatever. So basically how it works is, instead of teleporting us, we can insert here, we can insert like proper coordinates, so we could tell us to teleport us to right there. Or we could give a relative command, and that will just basically teleport us relative to our own position. So as you can see right here, we have a tilde, which we can also put zeros there to help you out. So it doesn't move us any blocks along the X or Z coordinate, but it moves us one block higher on the Y coordinate, on the Y axis. So you can see it right there working. We're going up by one block every time we push it, so that works quite nicely. And it also with the set block, so right here we've got moving 0 blocks along the x-axis, 0 along the y, but -2 on the z. So if we look there with the new nifty features we've got here, this is towards -z, and so it should place a block about there, and we push the button, it does so, that is pretty nice. Another thing you should be aware of is when you're using coordinates, you need to be careful with negative ones. Since if we look at the debug screen, if we go to the very corner of a block, you can see that is where it is pretty much there. So you can see right there on my x coordinate, that is -809, and I'm in the center of 4 blocks. So what happens is the game thinks the actual exact number is at the very corner of a block. So right here we want it to place to -809.56, -1747, which is right here, right? -809.56, -1747. But if we actually push this button, we can see that it appears over there, not here. And this is because the game likes to do things in the positive direction, so the southeast corner towards positive x and towards positive z. So just keep that in mind as well. Oh, now it's on to the fun stuff. So we have selectors. That's what we're going to look into first. And if we open this up, this is a selector at something. So we have 4 in the game at the moment. There might be some in the future, but I won't be able to really do anything about future commands and all of that. But I may make another video if necessary. Anyways, let's move on. So we're going to say at E, which is the nearest entity. Well, an entity. So, and there you have it. So what happens is it lists pretty much all the entities in this area. So we've got me, we've got sheeps, cows, pigs, more sheeps, pigs, cows, apples, redstone, and a knot gate lying on the ground, a leather piece, a monster placer, a iron door. You can see right there some of these names for these items are quite strange, but yeah, that's how you can see all the entities around. We just have a simple command like so. So we're going to look into these selectors a bit more, and we're going to be looking into the selector arguments. Yes, so we've got about 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, it looks like, at the moment. There might be some more in the future. The DX, DY, and DZ only came out in some of the newer snapshots, so there's bound to be some more coming very soon. Anyways, I'll go over each of these. So we've got the X, Y, and Z, which is the search center. R is for the max radius, RM for the minimum radius, C for the number of players and entities, L for max XP level, LM for minimum XP level, and score for the max and minimum score of a player. Team to check if someone's on a specific team. Type, it's the same as the name of a player, but for entities. So this is probably a bunch of nonsense to a lot of you new people. Oh, forgot about this one. DX, DY, and DZ for cubic search areas. So a lot of this will probably be a bunch of nonsense for you new command block map makers out there, but we'll go into it and I'll explain how it all works. So we'll start off with R, the max radius. Basically what we do here is we have /say at E radius equals 2. That's pretty much what you do. You put it in these square brackets right after the at E with no spaces, and you just have the R equal to a number. So with 2, it will say the entity within 2 blocks of that command block. So if we stand out here, it does nothing because that player cannot be found. There's no entity within 2 blocks of this command block. And if we come closer though, we push the button, it says our name. Very nice. Now if we put a cow in here, that's within 2 blocks of the command block. We push this, it will say the cow. And if we stand here, it will say cow and Zaptrocity. So that's how that works. It will check in a radius of 2. So a radius of 2 works like this. The command block is 0, 1 block out is 1, and then the next would be 2. So this is a radius of 2. And it creates this weird diamond shape, as you can see, because you can go diagonally out. So you can go 1, 2, and then you can go 1, 2, 1 block higher, and then you can go straight up 1, 2, and that's pretty much for every single side. So that's how that works. Now we can move on to X, Y, and Z for the search center. So in this command, I have a say the at E in X with an X coordinate and a Z coordinate. And along with that, we also have a radius of 2 so we don't get confused. So over here is exactly where we're searching for. To be exact, it's right that block with a radius of 2. Now, you may have realized that I did not, this is X, Y, and Z, but I only inserted an X and Z coordinate. Now, I'll show you what's interesting about this. So if we stand right here, it says our name. However, if we stand up here, it does not say anything. Even though we did not specify a Y value. Now what's happening here is that if you do not specify a certain value for X, Y, and Z, so for example if I missed Y, then it will get the Y value of the command block. So the Y value of this command block here is 55 minus 1 because 55 is actually there. So it's 54, so it will be checking right there in a radius of 2. So that's how that works. Now let's move on to RM, which is the minimum radius. So inside here, we'll open up the command block. Now we have our good old friend radius, which I love to use. I love this selector argument. So it checks for a player, this time we're using @P, and a radius of 10. Alright, so a radius of 10 that goes all the way out this way. I think the redstone was in the way there, but all the way out this way, all the way out there, and as you can see it makes that diamond shape once again. Now we have here RM equals to 8. Now what that means is the radius minimum, so you can see right there. So if we stand inside the radius area, radius of 10, so we should be able to activate it, right? Nope, because we have another argument here. Now to add more arguments, you just put a comma, no space, and then your next argument. So radius 10, comma, RM equals 8, and then we can do a comma and do whatever other argument we want to do. You know, X equals to this, Y equals, those are the ones we've learnt, so that can also work. But when we push this button, it does not activate. That's because we've set a radius minimum. So now it actually searches between the maximum radius, which is 10, so it checks all the way out to here, but it checks in a minimum of 8, so it does not check up to this block. So it basically checks 10 and 9. That's pretty much what it checks, because from 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it does not check that. So if we stand over here in the red area, which is inside the 10 block range, but outside of the 8 block range, we can see it activates. So that's quite nifty. Let's get out of that area, and you can see it does not activate outside the red area, which is about there. And if we stand here inside the purple area, it does not activate either, so that can be very useful as well. Alright, let's move on. Now we have C here, which is number of players and /entities. So if we do /say at E, and we can see right there, we can see pretty much all the entities in the world. And look here, so this is what our command is: /say @e, c equals to 1, radius equals to 5. We push this and it says my name. Okay, let's stand a little further back. Now it says pig. So what's happening here is with c equals to 1, it chooses one mob, and it'll only say one mob. If there are multiple things, like there are multiple entities around, but it will only choose one. For example, if we choose 2 now, when we push this button, it will say zap, trusty, and pig. We stand out here, it will say pig and sheep. Now, as we can see, we can clearly see it's always saying the same things over and over. Now, that's because if we get this command again, /say @e, and we should do the radius of maybe 10. 10's good. It says zap, trusty, pig, sheep, and cow. We've got pig, sheep, and cow. Now what it does is the C gets the first entity from the list. So it will go Zaptrosity, then pig, then sheep, and cow. So it will say Zaptrosity and pig. Alright, it didn't, but maybe I don't count as a entity. Here, I don't know. There we are. That was strange. I'm not too sure what happened there, but it was say my name and then pig. Then now if you change that to 3, it will actually say me, pig, and sheep. So it will do that. There we are. And 4 will make it the cow appear at the end. Now what we can do is we can put a -1. We can turn this into a negative number, and it will do things backwards. So now it goes pig, sheep, and cow. So it went cow, sheep, pig. So it went cow, sheep, pig. So that's pretty interesting. So that could come in handy in some something. I'm not too sure what you would use it for, but it can be used for some things, I'd say. Right, so now we have a XP level max and XP level minimum. So we'll say the player with a maximum level of 10. So if we push that, it will say our name, because if we go to survival, we can see we're at level 10. Now if we take away 1 level from me, and we can push the button, there we go. It says our name once more, because the maximum level a player can have is 10, and otherwise it will not say their name. So if we add 2 levels to us, to me, we're now at level 11, and we push the button, and it does not say our name, because there is no player that has a level of 10 or less. So pretty cool. Now we have an LM, which is the level minimum, so anything above 2 will be said. So for example, we are at 11 levels, which is higher than 2, so that works. But if we set our levels to 1, then it will not say our name, so that sucks. But those can be very useful. It can be used for shops and other things, which can come in quite handy. Okay, so our next selector argument is type, and this works by typing type equals to and then the entity name. So some of these entity names are pretty self-explanatory. For example, a sheep's entity name is sheep, a cow's is cow, a pig is pig, but there are some strange ones like horse. A horse is entity horse, I do believe, and some of them have these really funny names, as you saw before, with weird items and whatnot. Those are all very strange. So if we see here, we've got a kill command, which, if you don't know what it does already, it kills things. Alright, so what it does here is it kills the nearest entity, type equals cow, in a radius of 10. So if we push this button here, it killed all the cows in a radius of 10, so it pretty much killed those cows there, because type equals to cow. Now if you push this button here, it will kill all the sheep. Pretty easy to understand. Now we also have one here that we can also put a exclamation mark before the type, and we can actually make it a not equal to. So we've seen all these things equal to something, but now we can also have a not equal if we put a exclamation mark after the equal sign. So if I spawn in a couple more animals here, so some more cows and pigs, there we are, some pigs. Those are always Nice, and then we probably need some sheep as well, because we have none of that. There we are, some baby sheep as well. And we push this button, it pretty much killed everything, even the items, and my minecart command block back at the beginning of the episode, killed everything that was not a player. And I'm a player, so yeah, it didn't kill me, so that's very, very nice. That's pretty awesome. We can push it again to remove all the items as well, so that works out quite nicely. There we are. That's pretty cool. Now we also have the name, and that's pretty much the same as type, but except for this works on players. So if a guy named Zaptrosity came along and pushed this button, or someone else pushed it, it will give a player named Zaptrosity 64 apples. So we push this button, oh look, I'm Zaptrosity, so I get 64 apples. Now if we look over here, there's a guy named Bob who can get 64 stone, and since I'm not Bob, I can't get any stone. So if there was someone who called Bob that logged onto this world, even though it's a single player world, and that I pushed this button, or someone pushed this button, or it activated, then Bob would get 64 stone. So that's how that one works, which is kind of useful. But usually if you're making a mini game map, you probably don't know the name, so that can be kind of difficult. But it can be useful for some maybe close multiplayer things. I'm not too sure. You guys can be the creative ones. I'm just teaching you how to do stuff. Alright, and finally for our last selector argument is the DX, DY, and DZ. Now these were just recently released, and I'm sure there will be a lot more selector arguments out there in the future, but I guess if you know what you're doing, you'll be able to understand how the next ones work in the future. You can always keep up to date with snapshots and the updates. So how this one works is it searches a cubic area. So before we saw the radius and radii, we saw all those commands that used a weird diamond look-like shape to say a name. So now with this command, we can actually be standing in this cube, well, more like a cuboid block box thing, and it will activate. If we're outside the blocks, it doesn't work. If we're inside, it works. So that's pretty awesome. That can be a lot more this can come in a lot more handier than the radius selector argument. So this can be very handy. And how it works is we have to first set our X, Y, and Z corner. So that's what I've got over here. This blue glass block represents the X, Y, and Z coordinates right here, and I just found those. And then we have the DX, DY, and DZ. So basically DX 10, DY 4, DZ 7. So DX 10, that means we go 10 blocks into the positive direction, because we did not have a negative number. So 10 blocks into the positive direction. Then what was the next part? DY 4, and then we went up 4 blocks, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't count that block, we just go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we would go across 7 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that gives us our corner. So that's how this selector argument works. So that's pretty awesome. Very cool. And that can come in pretty handy, especially with the test4 command. So yeah, I think that's about it for the selector arguments for today. Hope you found something useful. We did not go over the score name, min, and team today though. That's because I want to cover some of these in some maybe future episodes where I can explain how the scoreboards work, which would be awesome. But I think that's going to be it for today's episode. Hopefully those eager map makers found something useful today. But until then, hope you all enjoyed. And yay, the Redstone Guide's back for a few episodes for command blocks until it will disappear again. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.